Curran Holdman here, and first inaugural podcast for Vern Entertainment. We're joined here with special guest Kelly Northern. She's going to be...
Hi, friend.
Kelly's over there on the other side, and she has a great blog out here that I think is really something that is needed these days. And in case, if you're having a hard time, if you're going through a lot of medical issues or any issues in life, and you're having a hard time getting through, I think Kelly has something here on her website. It's kind of, using the Wix sites, it's kind of a hard to, but if you go to her Facebook page, she's got a link there on that. And the blog, The Painfully Positive Girl. I think I've read through the blogs here, and it really grabs you. I mean, it's got something for everybody. And Kelly, can you tell us a little bit about what made you want to start up this blog?
Absolutely. So another thing, I also have, if you have Instagram, my Instagram handle is Kelly Helena too, and I have you can click the link in my bio and it'll take you to my blog as well. But I actually deal with chronic pain and chronic illness. I broke my ankle when I was 10 and I'm 27 now, and I've pretty much had physical issues or pain or disability ever since then. I have a disease called complex regional pain syndrome, and it is known as the most painful disease known in the medical world. So I deal with constant pain all day, every second. And it went full-fledged about 8 years ago. So because of that, it also affects the nervous system in your body. So it affects your whole body. So I have other issues because of that. Thankfully, I've always been a bright, chipper person. I'm almost one of those people that is like borderline overwhelmingly happy all the time. So I always just kind of would write down little things, positive things. And eventually on social media, I met a lot of people, and they would always say, thank you so much that you're sharing this, because I've never really had anyone share this or be like so open about this. And I think that just kind of really grew. The more I felt that people needed that and needed to hear that, the more it made me want to share. I'm just one of those people that is so open to anyone, talking to anyone, really talking about anything. So it really grew into just, my blog is about my daily life, what I go through. And I just want people to know that, you can be in pain. You can be going through the hardest things. I mean, every single day of my life is so hard, but you can find positivity. And for me, it's really painfully positive, You can find brightness or good or lessons in literally any bad thing. So I just want people, a lot of my blogs are about my medical issues, but anyone could read that and apply their scenario into it. It could be their job that sucks, or, they're having issues with their kids, or they got in a fight with a friend, or someone's being mean to them at school. I mean, any scenario that you're struggling with and it just feels hard every day, I hope that they would read these lessons and maybe chuckle at my issues at my expense. Go for it, because there are some weird things that I get into, or just realize, wow, this person's struggling too, and they're trying to find lessons, and it just reminds you that maybe I'm going to try today to find a lesson or something that I can be positive about in my hard thing that I'm going through today. So yeah, that's what it's all about.
And I think that's important, especially these days where, we see a lot of negativity. We see a lot of things on social media that doesn't really target in helping someone out or finding a way to, motivate. And I think that's the biggest thing is motivation. A lot of people could be dealing with issues and they don't really have either someone they can talk to or something that can help
Absolutely.
them kind of keep in that positive mindset. And I think that's super important. And again, and if you haven't, you follow Kelly there on Facebook. she will keep you entertained. I will say that. She will keep you entertained daily. But it's a great, strong, positive message that I think is hard to find these days. And it's really a way to help others. And I know we all strive to do it, but to be open about issues that we have going on in our life, it's tough to do, but if you're able to do that, and the way I see it, I don't want to be kind of a pun, but it is contagious. It's a positive contagious, not a negative one. So, but it's also a great way just for people to, hey, you know what, I've been having a hard time, and then you go and you look at this and you're like, someone kind of gets it. What, I'm seeing her go through that, and I know that, what, I might not have it as worse as that, but I don't need to get down on myself. There's something to be positive about.
Yeah, and that's one thing I also want to remind people. Sometimes, especially with my friends, when we talk, I'll explain my issues, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I have nothing to complain about. That's nothing I would ever want someone to read my blog and feel like. When I do have a lot of issues, it is really hard a lot of times, especially with my health. But just because there's starving kids in Africa doesn't mean when I get hungry I don't need to eat. Just because I have issues and you're reading about mine, you can still have problems. If you're embarrassed to talk to someone, I want you to be able to come and read this, and maybe no one knows you're reading it, but you're getting out of it that someone else is struggling, you're struggling, and I hope I'm giving you maybe a tool or just words to know how to go about turning that around a little bit. So I'd never want anyone to feel like this is a place where I'm wanting you to just be give up all your feelings of struggle and be like, well, I can't feel bad because she's doing worse. It's not like that whatsoever. So, yeah.
And I think the biggest thing also is just to kind of the start. I've been looking here on your webpage, and just the growth of 2 blog posts within since September, and already the first blog's over 100 views, next one's over 60. So again, it's very contagious. And I know we were talking about this before the podcast, how and when you're especially in a small town in Eastern Oregon, you're like, hey, I'm going to post this, and maybe 5 people will see it. We'll be realistic about it.
Yeah. Woo!
And then you look at it and you're like, over 100. And you're like, okay, now we've got something going on here.
Yes. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I post things on Facebook or Instagram, my grandma's right there, and she's like, you are such a talented writer. You need to do something with this. Or people from my church, they're my regulars, and I don't discount their compliments whatsoever, because I am so thankful that they would say that to me. I'm so appreciative for that. But to look and know that 100 people took the time to click and read what I have to say, I'm like, well, Snapdragons, that's amazing. That's so cool. That's exactly what I wanted to happen. I mean, I'm on disability. I can't work a regular job. And I've always so desperately wanted to help people and make an impact on this world. I just want to help people and be kind, And so it's so cool that I hope that day I helped 100 people. That's so cool, So it is amazing, the impact you can have.
And I think that, and again, contagious is the best word to put that. How one little thing, you post something like that, and you're thinking about it, and then all of a sudden, the next day, you're looking like, I already got 100 views, and people are commenting on it, and you're like, maybe this is exactly what people need. And I will say this, reading your blogs, I honestly think that in a year's time, these could all be put into a book. Some kind of an archive. The way it's written, the way it's got detail to it, it's really something that if you just keep these and put them in a book, you can sell it. I mean, not to be you can sell it just to make money, but you can sell it and it can really impact someone and something they can have with them wherever they go.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I will say, I mean, sometimes I'm writing these, and this, guys, anyone who reads this, this isn't me just being like, yeah, I had a hard day and I had a fever. I'm telling you like some nitty gritty things that go on in my life. You know, I'm not sharing like just butterflies and rainbows things. I'm showing you like the real deal side of what goes on in my life, because I'm so tired of people holding in their struggles. It's just, we're all humans, you know. I just want everyone to know that if you're struggling, like, you don't have to keep it inside. So I'm going to break down the walls of it. I'm like, I'll tell you whatever you need to tell me, or whatever I need to tell you. But I mean, I'm just naturally, I'm a go big or go home. So if I'm going to tell you the story, I'm going to tell you in my sense of humor with my flair. And it's just a natural thing. I'm not trying to zhuzh anything up. This is like directly from my brain how I would tell it. So yeah, I mean, I think it's entertaining and hilarious because I think I'm like the funniest person in the world, you know?
in reading your blogs, the humor is there. I will say that, especially the one that she posted here today. And if you're listening to us in the future remember, mark this date, November 3rd, 2019. Just the headline. The headline alone will grab you.
I know. I was so nervous because my grandma, I mean, she's a pretty conservative Christian. And I was like, I got to put at least dollar signs where those S's should be. And I was just waiting for a text. And I'm like, that's the type of thing that I thought that up. And I was just like, man, that was a good one, Kelly. Atta girl, you know? And I get that some people might take a little bit of offense to it, but it's so funny. And the cause, when you read it, is purely so, I mean, it just comes from my heart. And it's so like, I just like hope that people realize that's me writing to whoever's reading this, like giving them the biggest hug and being heartfeltly like, I get that you're struggling with something, and whatever I can do, however I can write this, I'm writing this to you, you know, through whatever you're struggling with.
I think also that's also a great point about it, is when you're reading it, it's not like, you know, to the general public and masses. It's a blog that's written to you. So it's like something, if you had a diary or a journal and you look at it and how you write it, that's how it's written. So it's pointed at you. And I think that's the biggest thing, is it's not like, you know, to all that may be concerned. It's like you open the page and it's like you're having a face-to-face conversation with Kelly, or even a face-to-face conversation with yourself. It's a way for it's something directed to you, and that it instantly clicks with you.
Yeah, that was one thing that actually, I follow a lot of people on Instagram. I really love Instagram because that has been a community that I have met so many other chronic pain, chronic illness patients that have honestly become some of my closest friends that I've really gotten inspiration from, because those are the people that needed my help, you know, or have helped me. And so I follow a lot of people, and I found I would love their content and love what they wrote, but it'd be like, then I get their newsletter, and, you know, it'd be like this generic newsletter, and it'd either auto-fill in my name, or it'd be like, hey, girl, I love you so much. And I was just like, you don't even know me. You don't love me so much. That's a lie. And, like, I am one of those people that just, like, the only people I don't love or care for dearly are the people I haven't met yet, because I just have that type of heart. But it just feels unauthentic. And when I write, I want someone to know that I'm like, if you're reading this, I hope that you know when you are reading this, I'm not generally doing this. I hope that the person who is reading this on the screen knows I want to help you. And I know I can't be like Frank and Sheila and Bob and Cynthia, you know, I can't write all your names because I haven't met all of you. But I hope they know, like, if I could meet you and be reading this to you, I 100% would. And so I try not, like, use those general things because, yeah, I can't reach everyone face to face, but I want them to know that I'm like, I don't want to generally speak to everyone. I want you to know this is targeted at you if you are having issues. Like, I care about just you, certain person, you know, and your struggle. So.
Yeah,
I'm glad it comes off like that. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a really tough skill to master. I think is something that you write something in which someone's going to be attracted to it. And I think that's the best thing, to be able to put it in words, be like you're reading the first sentence and instantly you're already down 3 pages. I mean, that's what it kind of does to you. You're just like, you start it and you never want to let it go. You just want to keep going and going, and until the end of each post, it really does capture. And again, like you said earlier, it may not be pointed to your situation, but it does allow a part of it that you can relate to. Doesn't matter how you take it, it relates to something that may be going on, and so it doesn't matter if you just had a bad day or something, something minor. It's important to be able to reflect on what you see and what you can read, and be able to reflect it to yourself, and how am I going to be able to fix what's going on, or how am I going to be able to deal with what I'm struggling with, and it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, obviously my issues are a part of my life, and I would hope that you wouldn't be like, weird, I had the exact same day every single second, because that would be really creepy.
It does happen, though. It does happen. In the world that we have today, bet you it does happen.
Yeah, that's true. But I just would hope that people would read it and be like, oh, yeah, I had a different day, so I'm going to, kind of put my scenarios into what I read, and switch it out. So, yeah.
Well, and then that's also another important part about it, and it's the way that it's written, it allows you to do that. And again, that's a very tough skill to master, or to even kind of display out in public, because it's tough to do, and it's tough to be able to find a way for someone else to, grab hold of it. And I think once you're able to do that, then again, you put the blog. We'll talk about the blog post today. You're already up almost to 70 views, and it's been up since this has happened.
I haven't even looked at it.
I see it right now.
I put it up and took a nap, and then
it's right at 70 views, and it was posted 4 hours ago.
People are so kind. Oh, that just touches my heart. I'm so glad that people are responding, because I just want people to know. I just want to help. It makes me happy. Yay! That's cool.
Again, contagious.
That's my witty tagline.
There you go. Maybe that, or they see the Kardashian part and they're thinking, maybe she's another Kardashian. That's exactly what I'm.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, yeah. And another thing that I find so funny is that it's so funny how when you really find something that you're passionate about or things like that, it just comes naturally. I mean, oh my goodness. And high school, but definitely I remember I was in writing 121 in college, and our teacher, she was the greatest. She was this really odd duck character, and I just connected to her. I mean, we were buddies. And so, but she made us read every single paper we wrote aloud. It was the worst thing in the world, because I had no writing skills. We'd have to write these things and then read them to everyone, and it was so embarrassing because people would read theirs and it'd be great, and mine. And this wasn't like me being, what's the word? I can't even think of it right now. Humble or anything. I was just not a good writer. And then when all of this happened, I at some points in my injury, when they got so bad, I was bedridden. I couldn't clean myself. I couldn't cook for myself. I was wheelchair bound. I mean, I couldn't read books because I was in so much pain. I had no comprehension. I wasn't writing clearly. So when I finally got well enough a little bit to even start, it came so naturally because I had such a passion for it. It was insane how all of a sudden I was writing things and I was like, oh, that kind of doesn't sound terrible like it used to, you know? It kind of was like I wasn't completely embarrassed to share it. And it's just really amazing when all of a sudden you have a passion. It is cool. And it does make me feel like I have a part in this world. So it also helps me just as much as it helps others because I can't really have a job, and I used to work 2 jobs and go to school and have a life, and a lot of that has really been taken from me. So to have this and get to share and help people and have them respond and read it helps me just as much because it gives me a purpose. So really people are giving back to me just as much as I hope I'm giving to them, so it really is both double-sided coin.
Yeah, and I've got somewhat of a similar experience. I was a speech class in college, and I was known as kind of the shy kid until I guess that really brought it out. I mean, I was getting a little bit more of exposing myself, I guess you could say. Not quite to the point today where I'm on the radio and yabbering for 4 hours for sports and whatnot, and DJing weddings and having a great time doing that. But it was really a speech class in college, and one teacher, and she's like, you know what, you've got something really good about it, just try a little harder. And so I remember staying in my car probably 30 minutes. I was still kind of a procrastinator. About 30 minutes, kind of going over my speech, and it was supposed to be a 5-minute speech, and it was about the it was about the 7-second campaign about the dropout rate in high school, and something at that point, and still am kind of really hey, I want people to succeed in school. I think it's very important to keep up and get your degree, and so halfway through the speech. You could have 5 note cards or 3 note cards or something like that. And the note cards fell off the table. And she kind of looked at me, and, I didn't even blink an eye. I knew exactly what I was going to say. And then it lasted about 6 extra minutes. And that was my other thing, is after that one, I was known as the guy that could talk forever. Because most of my speeches... And they were really good speeches, but you did have a time limit. I think 7 minutes was that max. And I get to some of those longer speeches, it would be about 9 minutes, 10 minutes. And afterwards, she'd pull me aside and we go over what my speech. She's like, you know what? You have a really good speech, and I think you can take this kind of on the road and do it. That would be great. You could be like a spokesperson, but I'm going to have to dock you points because you were about 2 minutes afterwards. I didn't want to stop you. You got everybody in a rhythm, and I wanted to hear the ending. I was so tied into it, but I just didn't. I knew I'm going to have to mark you down, but I think it's something.
Thanks for,
Exactly. Thanks for delivering an entertaining speech and doing all that, but I'm still going to have to take some points off. And at that point, you know what? I'm okay with that, because that helped me kind of break out of my cage a little bit.
Absolutely.
And getting used to teaching out in public.
Glad to hear that.
And something now I'm used to it, where someone can ask me a question in public and I can give you, 2-second response or a 5-minute response, which way you want. I'm known for rants from time to time, and in high school I was kind of again kind of the quiet guy, but there were classes where I was also kind of the class clown. It just kind of depended on where I was at and at the time, and what felt comfortable. But what I learned through those years is what makes you uncomfortable is what makes you grow. And so and that's something I try to apply to myself in every day these days, is what can I do to put me into an uncomfortable spot that's going to force me to get better and to grow. And then now when I see that, I get put in that position, I don't have to worry about it. I know exactly what to do, what's going to happen, and how to do that, but also using that experience to apply it to other people's lives. And if I see somebody, posting something on, something kind of about depression, and I'm open about that. I was depressed for about 4 or 5 years, and it took a lot to kind of, self-help tapes, listen to motivation tapes, whatever helps you get through. But also, it led me on to a lot of great speakers, and I think that was one thing that I wanted to do. And even now, however I've got left here, really want to get into that speaking part and helping others kind of deal with what they've got going on and feel like, hey, it's exactly same kind of medium here with this blog. is what I like to do with my speaking. And so that's just one thing that, being able to do that and share people kind of open mind and, open up about what I went through. And I like you said, what I went through during those years, I don't wish on anybody, but it also allowed me to get to where I am today.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it does. It makes you feel like you open up and it makes you feel kind of you get kind of emotional about it, but also
totally.
People tend to grab on when they see that raw emotion. It's because they know that I might
that it's authentic.
Exactly, it's authentic, and even though I'm not be able to share that, but I know exactly where you're coming from, and I can take those and use it in my life. And then if I can do that with others, then it will help out.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, and again, check out Kelly here, Painfully Positive Girl blog. Again, it'll make you cry, it'll make you laugh, it'll make you kind of look at yourself and reflect. But also, it's just a good way to know that you're not the only one in here going through issues, and it can help you solve those and help you feel better about yourself and say, you know what, this happened to me. It's okay. Pain.
Yeah.
I always say pain is temporary, so you don't have to worry about it. Just embrace it. It is what it is, and find a way to find a positive outlook on it. Yes,
so important to do.
So, Kelly, thank you for joining us here for our first podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me.
The inaugural podcast. And again, Vern Entertainment and the Painfully Positive Girl blog. Kelly, you can follow her on Facebook. You can follow the blog on the website. Instagram, that's her go-to, Instagram. But just Kelly, people know what are the best ways to follow you, and especially on this journey and on this blog.
Yeah. So if you have Instagram, it's at Kelly Helena. So Kelly, KELLYHELENA 2. And then I have the link. If you just click on it under like the picture in the bio, it'll take you straight there. Or my Facebook is Kelly Helena Northern, like Northern, like the lights. People always get confused by that, and I'm like Northern? I don't know. And if you scroll down, you'll see my posts. They should pop up on my wall. And I can also, I'll make sure and post. I need to buy the domain name so I can make it better, because it's an annoying website name. But I can post it under my name. I don't know. There's a little bio thing you can. So I'll post it there too if you ever want to copy and paste it. So those are the ways. Also, if you ever read it, have questions, want to get a hold of me, you're more than welcome to. You can either comment when you're on my Wix website at the very bottom. You can go straight. There's buttons to go straight to my Instagram or my Facebook. You're still free to message me. Or my email account is khnnorthern92@gmail.com. So thank you again for having me. You are so kind.
Well, thank you, Kelly, for joining us. Again, this podcast is kind of a startup to what we want, kind of a additional branch to Vern Entertainment. If you do know Vern Entertainment, you follow on Facebook. Again, we do a lot of things, but right now we're really in the main of DJing. We do weddings, we do parties, we do school dances. Really anything that you want to do, audio, company parties, we cover that. But also this podcast, something we were really excited about, and it's a way for us to communicate with the community. So we'll talk about. Really, it's kind of an open book, and there's really no tie down to it. I know I'm a huge sports guy, so there'll be sports in there, and there'll be rants about the Beavers, rants about the Ducks, stuff like that. Everything that's going on we'll cover, and we want to focus on those Eastern Oregon sports and Oregon sports, and we might jump into Seahawks football, depends on how that goes. But we'll, really just what we want to do. But also we want to have people tell us their stories, just like Kelly did. We want to keep this open for small business people that have something that they want to get out here on this platform and hear about. I think that's huge, and I think that's great. So we'll be back. We'll have another one. The plan is to have it weekly, so Sundays, and then most likely have it published and ready to go on Monday for people to start the week. So that's the goal here. We'll keep it open. But this is the first podcast, and we get a big shout out to Kelly Northern for joining us. And again, she is a trooper. She's a trooper, and her first. I don't know if this is her first podcast, but I will say this: she sounded great, and
good.
It seems like she's kind of natural, and maybe the painful positive girl will turn into kind of a podcast on your website. I think that could be a huge thing.
Options are endless.
Exactly.
We'll see.
Exactly. Yep. Well, you know what? The way the blog is blowing up, I think the podcast will do the same thing.